Fifth Assembly, Bayelsa House of Assembly. But suddenly, we don't know what happened, but we didn't see the governor. What actually happened?
The governor was not billed to attend the inauguration of the Fifth Assembly. In actual fact, the governor is not supposed to, by law, to attend the inauguration of the Fifth Assembly. All that the governor is required to do is to transmit a letter, a writ of proclamation to inaugurate the Fifth Assembly, which the governor has done. There is nowhere it is stated in the status book or in the rules that the governor must attend the inauguration of the House of Assembly. If he so choose, he can attend as a parliamentarian, if he so choose. But it is not mandatory. It is not a requirement of the law. So it is to tell Bayelsans, and indeed all Nigerians, those who are asking those questions, I think they are asking on the basis of ignorance. We have to look at what the Constitution says and what the rules says. The governor is not required to attend the inauguration of the House of Assembly. It's an exclusive matter with the House. What role specifically will the governor be doing in the House when he goes there? Does he have any statutory role to perform in the inauguration of the House? He is not the one to inaugurate the House. What the law simply said was for him to transmit a letter, and he has done that. So people shouldn't begin to peddle misinformation where there's no basis for it. And I think that point should be made very clear.
Well, he's not attending the function. Some people are insinuating that it's a second thought. It was an afterthought because almost all his aides were on ground.
When you are in government, it's not expected that people aides will go to functions sometimes, expecting that the governor will show up. Why? Because sometimes the line of communication is not made clear. And that's why it's important that the line of communication is made clear, as it's the responsibility of principal officers of government who should know to communicate that information down the line. For some reason, yes, the governor's advance team went to the House of Assembly, which is not out of place. It's not out of place. If the governor may have suggested that he might, as a parliamentarian, he might just come around and show solidarity to the House in the inauguration. But, as you would expect, government is a very serious business. The governor had other serious engagements to deal with in government house. And so, since it was not mandatory by law for him to be in the House for the inauguration, he had to stay back to deal with those issues. With the presence of the governor's advance team in the House of Assembly, if that is the reason why most people are insinuating or suggesting that he should have been in the House, I mean, they are clearly wrong. And again, sometimes security people may advise otherwise. I am not in the position to determine the governor's movement at any point in time. Those who are saddled with such responsibilities do so. But it is clear that the governor understands what his roles are, and he carries out his roles within the context of the Constitution has provided for him to perform those roles. And I think to a large extent we have never seen government the way we have seen in the last 3+ years function in Bayelsa State, because we have a governor who is alive to his responsibility, and he takes every step to ensure that the right thing is done. So in this particular case, I think we've already established that it is not mandatory for the governor to go to the House today to witness inauguration. What the law requires him to simply do, he has done so. And the House has been inaugurated, and the governor has gone ahead to commend the House for the inauguration of the Fifth Assembly. At best, what will happen is the new House leadership will come to see the governor on a courtesy visit, and the governor will be well in a position to receive them, which I think will happen maybe tomorrow, to receive the new House leadership and to further strengthen that relation between the one arm of government and the other. So the public should not be swayed by a whole gamut of misinformation making the rounds. And frankly speaking, people just peddle wrong information, not because they want to achieve anything, but because sometimes they are acting out of ignorance. And so sometimes we don't blame them. Our role as information officers, as media officers, is to educate them, which is what we're doing now, to educate them. And once they know, I think that the lessons will be learned, you know.
All right, sir. The governor, I mean, the executive arm, had a cordial relationship with the outgone Fourth Assembly. Do you see that being sustained going forward?
I see no reason why. I mean, and that's something you must commend this leadership, this government. The governor, when he came in 2012, inherited the outgone House of Assembly. And for a governor who did not take any part in bringing any of the members who, as we are now referring to them as outgone members, and yet was able to work with them harmoniously, how much more this new House of Assembly that you will rightly say the governor had a major role in their coming into office. I expect to see the bond more strengthened. I expect to see the relationship more robust, and you know, the fallout of it will be a peaceful state, a state where we'll witness more progress, we'll witness more development, because now we have a set of legislators that are going to work harmoniously with the government, a set of legislators that the governor knows well enough. Some of the legislators, he has a one-on-one relationship with them, and that will, to a large extent, will go a long way to rub off on governance in Bayelsa State. And I think there's no better time for Bayelsans to rejoice than now, because we have a set of legislators that are close to the executive, and the outcome of that is a better Bayelsa, a better governed Bayelsa, so to speak.
Okay. Being close to the governor, don't you think that will kind of affect the independence of the
not at all,
legislature?
Not at all. People sometimes misconstrue closeness to mean rubber stamp, and I beg to disagree. You have a wife, you're close to your wife. Does that make your wife a rubber stamp? It doesn't. I mean, there are clear boundaries, and the governor being a man of law, being a man who understands the place of the parliament in the structure of governance, will accord the legislature the due recognition and pride of place that it deserves. And we have seen that even with the outgone assembly, and where the governor gives respect, maximum cooperation to the legislature, because he himself is first and foremost a parliamentarian, so he understands clearly what the rules are, and being a man of law himself, I'm very convinced that he will abide by the principles of separation of powers as enshrined in the Constitution, and I expect to see that going forward. We should not take it for granted that the peace we have in our polity today did not just come about because certain people just want to behave right. When the head is right, clearly the whole body will be right. And we have seen a head that has proven over time that it is ready to do the right thing. And therefore, it's only natural for the entire body to follow. So we are seeing sound leadership at the head, and it's therefore not surprising that we're seeing an equally sound followership. And that's how it should be. That's how we can deepen our democracy. That's how we can strengthen our institutions. That's how we can enhance governance for the betterment of our people. I mean, we can't continue to run government like cat and dogs, because we're not cat and dogs. I mean, government is a serious business, and therefore those who come into government to serve the people must first and foremost recognize that they owe the people service first and foremost. And it's not about who is right or who is wrong. It is the people first. And that's one message we must bear in mind. And I'm glad to note that we have a set of leadership that is emerging in this state, that in the next couple of years to come, Bayelsa will be a pace setter in terms of how states should be governed. Bayelsa will be a role model. Already we are. As in the last 3+ years, we've had the most peaceful polity. You know, we've never for once had issues of the courts are closed, or workers in the judiciary are going on strike, or the legislature is fighting the executive. We've never had that in the last 3+ years. And so we shouldn't take it for granted because we enjoy this much peace, and therefore the legislature is a rubber stamp of the executive. That's far from the truth. What you have is a leadership. The head of government in this state is a man of law who believes in rule of law and practice it to the letter. And that's why we're enjoying the peace that we're enjoying today.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.